Paul McCartney asked me after I had done a Beatles video, he asked me to come up with a film idea.
Sound production, take one.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Sound and welcome to our very first ever recorded episode of Never Stop Candy Bang. A little applause. Woo. The sound setup is very simple because obviously we've never done this before. So it's a Rode wireless microphone, and through that you can hear across from me my partner, Pete Candeland.
Nice. Thank you, Sophie Sound. Hello. Hello through the Rode wireless microphone to everybody. Super exciting to be giving this a go. And like I was saying before, I just can't believe I've been talked into it, but very happy to try. So let's go. Let's give it a go.
Yeah. So I'm Sophie Sound. I'm a sound engineer, artist, and I recently entered the filmmaking world.
Ha ha ha. Sophie Sound, a sound designer and artist who started producing and running Boiler Room while also curating radio shows and producing a nightclub in the cutting-edge world of Mexico City. Having taken a sharp turn from that, she now writes scripts and creates worlds full of sound and emotion for commercials, film, and TV. She flourishes in design and high fashion sensibilities for the restless minds. Nice. And I'm Pete Candeland, animator and director, and I've spent my last 20 years entering the filmmaking world.
Pete Candeland, Pete Candeland, the one Pete Candeland, that not just his colleagues, but a whole field is calling an inspiration. Even the Rolling Stone magazine is calling his work insanely cool, making his mark with all his Goriallz music videos and that Beatles rock band thing. He's not just influencing George Miller. After being fired of the Grinch for being ahead of his time, his vision for his animation and movies remains visionary and unique. Yeah, so we're two creatives in two very different parts of the filmmaking world. Me, Sophie Sound, being in sound, and you, Pete, the vision side. Together we're sound and vision.
Nice. Sound and vision. I like it. And we've had loads of conversations in the past, right? About work, about our own projects, about the industry, creativity, and all of that. But we came towards a difficult truth, and that's something that we want to share on this podcast as well. And that is that we haven't made it yet. We keep trying, but we haven't made it yet, or at least not in the way that we imagined when we first started, right? For me, I'm still searching. I'm still trying to make that first big movie. I'm still trying to find a nice place to work from. That's not just my desk at home, but an office somewhere, stuff like that. For you, Sophie?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, like finding that big movie that I can be part of, sit one day in the hot seat on the big mixing desk.
Yeah.
But be surrounded by like-minded people and on movies.
Nice. Totally. But we have created something, though, and what we have created is a life full of creative attempts, right? And we thought, hey, we've had so many conversations about trying to make it, and maybe there's something worth talking about and sharing there, hence the podcast. It's kind of like a conversation that exists between the space in between ambition and reality. It's about the doing and the trying. It's about failing and trying. It's about falling upwards and stuff like that.
Yeah, so together on this podcast, we talk with family, with friends and industry artists about sound and vision, music, storytelling, but also the ups and downs of trying and never stopping. Sometimes it's interesting, at times chaotic, but always honest.
Yeah.
Underline.
We will definitely try to do that.
Yeah.
And because and that's all true, right? And as you'll hear on this podcast, no one's really got this shit figured out. So there we go.
Episode 00001 of Never Stop Candy Bang. The big Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Welcome to Victoria Station.
So many topics to talk about.
So many topics to talk about. We've covered a few in the past, but yeah, it was about realizing that we kind of did have some good conversations and that we wanted to capture those and just see where it kind of led to and stuff like that. And I remember it's not too long ago that we met. It's about 2 years ago.
I remember we met at a restaurant and you had just come back from LA where you worked for Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at Netflix back then doing the Goriallz movie, which was a great break. I'd done a lot of the Goriallz videos in the past, like way back when Goriallz was kind of first getting started and up and running. I did a bunch of those music videos. And that was like my early foray into filmmaking and stuff like that. And I vaguely remember some of that conversation. You were talking about that you just started at Cinematic. You'd just started your journey into filmmaking through sound, which was super interesting. And there was stuff you were talking about, you were running Boiler Room and things like that. And I remember a lot of the people we were around and talking to at the time were all absolutely enamored by Boiler Room.
Yeah.
That was a really big deal. You put on a bunch of Boiler Rooms as well, right?
Yeah. I think it was like 12 or 13.
And then you went to university to figure out how can you tell your own stories.
Yeah, exactly. And my own ideas, yeah.
And your kind of lead into all of the storytelling world is through sound.
Exactly, yeah.
Like that.
Through sound.
You know, like you're saying, your way into storytelling is through sound. I think my way into storytelling was through drawing. And I got lucky enough that I got picked up by a couple of agencies and stuff like that, Passion Pictures, and other places along the way. But the drawing being the key into it, I would do a little scribble. And then before I knew it, I was lucky enough that those little scribbles kind of won us a couple of commercials or jobs, and we'd be off shooting and doing something like that. So for me, it was all about scribbling, getting me somewhere. One of the things that I really noticed, and we had in common somewhat, but from my perspective, when I would talk about, or you kind of pointed out in a way that I had had some success in the short form world with music videos and stuff. And I always knew that that was the case. I got a lot of confidence from that period of time and that kind of creative session in my career. And it gave me the confidence to move overseas. I moved to New York and then LA to try to get into feature films. I had a desire to tell bigger stories, and I had a desire and still have a desire to show on a bigger format to a bigger audience what I can do, what I think I can do. So I think one of the things that we found in common when we were first talking, like a year and a half ago, that we both found really interesting and something to share was that we both had some successes, but that perhaps didn't last as long as we really wanted it to, and that we moved into different areas to try and seek out a little bit more of that. And I've enjoyed that, and I've always enjoyed our conversations as well. So talking with Sophie Sound about the visual side and the sonic side has always been fantastic and engaging. And I look forward to doing more and more of it. And I look forward to sharing a little bit of what I can share and any experiences I've had, and for us to keep chatting.
I think that I'm at a very meaningful path and experience at the moment where I start a completely new career after building a career for over 10 years, and I'm 30. And it took me a long time to find the bravery to do what I always wanted to do, which was like sound and post-production and just something more in a technical job, which I'm very proud of because I'm doing it now. But yes, as I said, it's a very different and very, sometimes very
Daunting.
and also, yeah, it's just tough. It's tough.
There was a period for me when I had just turned up in LA and I'd started making my movement into the feature world. I was suddenly surrounded by a completely different set of characters,
Yeah.
completely different people to the world of London and the short form world I'd been in. And there was a lot of salespeople. Everybody was a salesperson suddenly. And I wasn't that at all. And I was like semi-drowning in this space because I just had no idea how to sell myself. And everybody, that's all people did. They just spoke about themselves all the time, so easily.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? Like, I just couldn't get used to that. And I didn't like it. And I had to figure out slowly, it took a long time because there was times when I was ready to pack it in. It was so not me. I wasn't wanting to change who I was to have to accommodate this kind of different kind of creative world and not creative world. Everybody was loaded with, they knew every director from every movie and every composer from every movie and every actor and everything and everything and everything and script writing and this and that and the other. And everyone was just selling how much they knew. And I was like, what is this? I didn't get it. I was like left going, I don't know all of the names and all of the people and who produced that and when this was made before that. That stuff never really interested me. I love watching movies, but becoming an encyclopedia like that didn't interest me at all. And there was this kind of level of the more you knew like an encyclopedia, the better you were equipped in this place. And I couldn't do it. And I was drowning at times without being able to keep up with the conversation. And I had to figure out, well, I had to get talked out of leaving a lot of times because I was just going nowhere. I wasn't able to get a grip or a foothold properly. I'd get opportunities, but nothing would get greenlit. And I just kept feeling like I was slipping and slipping further away from the goal that I wanted. And then with a little bit more time and a little bit more knowledge and learning the things that I needed to learn really about storytelling, I started to get a little bit of a foothold. And I started to figure out my way of doing it for myself and not completely changing myself, but figuring out how to pitch and how to talk and actually how to semi-sell myself without being too uncomfortable about it. And then learning, I guess I got to learn a little bit more about who I was in a weird way. And I was able to talk to it a little bit better and know what I felt uncomfortable about. But there was definitely, I'm not out of it. I still haven't made a movie yet. I'm still just trying. I'm not there. But I definitely do feel a bit more comfortable than I did at times during it. And those big pits that you fall into, yeah, it can be pretty worrying for a while. But yeah, hopefully if you just keep working through it, fingers crossed it does work out in the end.
Yeah.
Still waiting to see.
I just remember something. One of the first times we met at the bar in Mexico City.
Yeah.
At the Circle.
Yeah. The bar.
And I think it was the very first time even we met after my birthday party where we connected. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, what was it?
It was like, you just came back from Annecy and you were like, so what's your pitch? Pitch me who you are. And I was like, what do you
said
mean?
that?
Yeah, you said that. You was like, what's your pitch? Like, what's your
wouldn't
elevator?
never ask someone to pitch who they are.
Yeah, you did that. Like, I remember it
What a dickhead.
so clearly.
Wow.
And you were like, like, how do you describe who you are? And I'm like, fuck do I know? I just came out of university like a fucking few weeks ago.
Wow.
And
So that's what I learned in LA, how to be a total prick. It's probably right. You do become quite pricky. But I don't remember saying that, really. I'm sorry that I did. That would be the worst question. I would hate to hear that come of me. I remember a similar thing when my agents first asked me,
Yeah.
what's your favorite movie? Weirdly enough, it sounds like the simplest answer.
Yeah.
Or the simplest question. But when you're in the situation and you're saying what it is,
Yeah.
none of it seems to make sense. And you don't really know. That's when it wasn't working, because you're like, well, what am I meant to say to this? What is the right answer? Because I'm an animator. They expect me to be in kids' TV. They expect me to be in kids' movies, family movies, and all of this. But the stuff that I loved was totally different to that.
Mm.
And then when I would say the things that I would actually like, they were confused. They were really confused because they expected me to be in the family entertainment space.
Yeah.
They expected me to say Goonies when what I was saying was Mad Max. And they were left going, we don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I pretended to be something else.
Mm.
And I do love the Goonies. There's no two ways about that. But yeah, kind of similar. And then I came over to Mexico and I asked you, give me your pitch. Who I pitch shit.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was so determined to not change and not get over that I got in my own way for absolutely ages. And then I did just kind of just decide to try and not be quite so shy.
Yeah, I have something similar at the moment with like starting out as a freelancer in a way, because I live in Mexico City and because there are not that many opportunities that you start as a junior or like an intern.
Yeah.
And I threw myself into the situation where I have to sell myself as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just doing it for not even 2 years. And it's just like, what do I sell myself with? So I spent the last year and a half, and you've been there basically the whole time now, seeing how I had to how I had to grow a portfolio with my works. And it took me a year and a half to have like 9 videos or whatever together.
I totally get it.
Doing so many,
because there has been times where we have spoken about that, and I have suggested some things that you should sell much heavier at the top of your reel and at the top of the things that you say, through a little bit of experience of doing the same type of thing.
Yeah, but
it's so hard to get used to.
It's not just hard to get used to, but I think it's also really hard to get to a point where something is sellable. Not everything that I was showing to people was ready to be sold to someone to pay me money. It's now ready. It's now at a point where I feel comfortable asking money for my work, because now I've learned quite a lot in the last year and a half, that I feel comfortable to go into a company and say, like, I think
that is the important thing. You've got to feel comfortable.
I have to feel comfortable.
You've got to feel comfortable
about the work
yourself.
That I show.
People have got to feel comfortable themselves about what they're going to show. But there's a counter to that, where sometimes you don't actually know what is ready to show. And a perfectionist can take it way too far. Mm-hmm. And they can spend weeks and then months and then more weeks still working to try and get it ready. The most important thing is to feel comfortable and confident about what you've done yourself. But sometimes the advice can be, you can stop earlier than you think you need to as well.
I agree.
And then there's also times when, if you're taking on a really refined version of something, it doesn't need to be here's exactly what happened to me. And that is that my agent would get so pissed off with me, because I would go and I would do 100 drawings for a pitch for a movie. And I would write out pages and pages and pages, and I knew the entire movie. And he would get so pissed off with me, and I'd be like, but it has to be right. I've got to know everything about it. It's got to be perfect. And he was like, that is so wrong. You're wasting energy and you're wasting your time. And I couldn't understand it. It's the only way I could understand how to convey myself, or I'd have such enthusiasm to have to do it and I had to make it perfect, and I would lose the job. And suddenly I'd spent all of this time doing all of this stuff and I wouldn't get it because the guy who turned up or the girl who turned up and they gave the one simple paragraph that was really right, that was just the right amount that people could understand, they went, boom, we're going with that person. Because I would just overload people with way, way, way too much and expect too much of myself. And that took me years to learn. And it took, honestly, my agent genuinely getting very pissed off at times.
What I wanted to say still about, using this one punchline phrase instead of making a whole, write a whole thing out and spend hours and hours and hours. This is what I've just learned with James. James Stenholm is a senior sound designer for game audio at Formosa, UK. I met him through a mentoring program and learned with and from him for about 6 months. I think I even needed to have a person even telling me this.
Yeah.
Where I would show him redesigns I wanted to make. And the first thing he was like, you make it way too complicated. Just do this one design, because now I realize making this one design, and you've seen the electricity alien cutscene that I was making.
Yeah.
And that's not long. That's like 40 seconds or so, even it's like 15 seconds or something. But making this took me 2 or 3 months because it's so complex to make this.
Yeah.
That this is now what I've learned is like, it's already enough when you have this one explosion, if you have this one electricity reactor thing kind of exploding and stuff like this.
The temptation often is to just do so much because you're not ready to feel like you don't believe that you belong just yet.
Yeah.
And I used to do,
this is so true.
I used to do this all the time. I remember, and it's a big name, but I will talk about it because it was really significant. I remember getting a little bit of time. Well, not, how did it work? So Paul McCartney asked me after I had done a Beatles video, he asked me to come up with a film idea.
Which is insane.
Which was insane. Yeah. But you can imagine, my first instinct was, holy shit, I've been asked by Paul McCartney to come up with a film idea. So what I did is I went away and I made a fucking entire movie almost. I didn't actually animate it and make it, but I knew everything about this thing. It was written to about 60, 70 pages in a treatment, and there was 100 images that went with it, right? And it looked fucking amazing. And in my head, it was just the best movie ever. And it illustrated loads of his music. And then what happened is we got the meeting and he wanted to meet, and I turned up and he had 10 minutes. He had 10 minutes because he's so busy. And I sat down and I was going through all the drawings and I'm talking to him about the script and the story, and none of it made sense. Yeah. None of it made sense. And we left that meeting maybe 20 minutes after it started, and we got nowhere. Just got nowhere. It was nothing. That is a lost pitch. That is an amazing movie. It definitely needs a writer and it needs experience. But at the time, I had no experience on what it meant to try and get that kind of project. And I thought the more I did, the better. And it's just not. You've just got to kind of learn it through experience what the right thing is to be showing.
And to dive deeper into the podcast, I think these are a lot of the topics that we've just shared from like early experiences is what we're going to talk about in this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Lost pitches.
Yep.
things that
Stuff like that.
stuff like that, and
Yeah.
experiences like pitching.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about in sound, where it's like what other sound designers, like senior sound designers, are looking for, what are workflows and things like that. So I think we've explained in very short
Or long.
or long, but like compressed experiences.
Right. Okay. Yes.
We got to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, everybody, that's a wrap.
First episode of Never Stop Candy Bang.
All right, let's move the water truck out. Pull the water truck out, please.
Can I put the water truck back?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. It's got to get just on the other side of this dolly.
Thanks for listening. More episodes are in your podcast app or our feed. For more information and updates on guests, episodes, and behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you have any comments, feedback, or ideas, send us an email at neverstopcandybang@gmail.com.